This time I have a ring light. I've owned this ring light for almost a year, but this is the first time I'm using it. Look at my script. This absolute masterpiece. This right here is my King Lear. This is my King Lear. I'm telling you, this is gonna be it. Hi my friends, my name is Francis. I use they them pronouns, and I'm glad you found my channel. Today we are talking about a much awaited topic. I asked my Snapchat like 6 months ago if they wanted this video, and they said yes. And then like mental illness, you know? So today we're doing it. Today the video is about parasocial relationships. And wowee, is it a whammy? You might have heard of parasocial relationships before. It's quite a talked about topic, but only in like certain spheres of the internet. So maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. What a parasocial relationship is basically a one-sided relationship where a media consumer has like this, it feels like a relationship with a media producer. So let's get meta. Let's say you watch like hours and hours and hours of my YouTube videos, right? You feel like you know me because you know, like, let's say you watch all of my videos and now you know about my camp experience, you know about my college experience, you know about the time I almost got kidnapped, like all this wild stuff that like you would know about a good friend, you know about me. But let's say I've never met you before. Like, you're not one of my campers, you're not one of my friends. You're just somebody who stumbled across my videos, which is super cool, and I'm like super glad you're here. But let's say that that's our dynamic, right? You watch so much of me. I have never met you. You feel like you know me. I have no concept of you. So it's this weird one-sided relationship. It gets to be more like, obviously right now I have 72 subscribers, so like if you comment on my videos, there's a good chance I'll at least have a knowledge of you. But let's say I had 7,200, that's harder to keep track of. And so especially if you don't interact with me on this media sphere, then I have no way of knowing who you are. So that's what this concept of parasocial relationships is. That's the jumping off point. And we see big media influencers start talking about this because it can be really toxic, honestly, for both sides of this one-sided relationship. I wrote down some examples that I just find honestly fascinating. Like, I've watched this go down and it makes me very frustrated, but it's also something that I like, sociologically speaking, I'm just like enamored with. For my first example, I'm going to use the John Mulaney situation because the John Mulaney situation is sort of what brought parasocial relationships into my reservoir of internet words. The John Mulaney situation is, right, you have this comedian who many people just adore and love. He's so many people's favorite comedian, and he tells stories about his wife, and they're really funny and endearing. And so like these people who are partaking in, you know, they're absorbing this media from John Mulaney, they feel like they have a relationship with him. And moreover, they have a relationship with his wife because he talks about her. So they're like, oh yeah, that's like my friend, and he's having this good relationship with his wife. And the audience doesn't have the full picture, right? Like, if John Mulaney was your cousin, then, you know, you would probably have a more rounded understanding of his relationship with his wife, where, you know, you hear the funny stories that he tells on screen, but then also you hear sort of the less funny things. And so you'd have a more rounded understanding of this relationship. But because he's not your cousin, and he's not your friend, and he's not your neighbor down the street, he has no idea who you are. He's not gonna tell you, like, oh, you know, I'm having some struggles. So it caught so many people so off guard when him and his wife that he kept talking about, now his ex-wife, because they ended up getting a divorce. I'm pretty sure. I haven't followed the situation. I'm pretty sure that they got a divorce, and then he got in a relationship with another person and had a kid with her. I think that that's how this situation unfolded. And to the viewing audience, everyone was like, what just happened? Because to all of his fans, it was like he had this really good relationship with his wife, and he didn't want kids, and yada yada yada. And so from the outside perspective, it was like he just jumped off the deep end. Like, I'm getting a divorce and I'm having this baby with this girl that I just started dating, and everyone's like, John, what are you doing? And so he received so much backlash from this situation that people had no say in. Like, honestly, like, they don't know him. They don't know the full details of his relationship. They have no say in his life. He doesn't even have a concept of them as individuals. It became this really weird thing where it's like everyone became so invested in this relationship that they had no connection to. And so that sort of explosion, people started talking about parasocial relationships. So I just thought that was a good example to like jump into. Another example, one that infinitely bothers me, and maybe I'm adding to the conversation by making this video, but it just bothers me so much, and I feel like we need to talk about it. Gerard Arthur Way, my king, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, absolute chef's kiss. Love this man. He has no idea who I am, right? Like, no clue whatsoever. His band doesn't have any idea. Like, we don't know each other, but I know his middle name. I know his cat's name is Susan, and his daughter's name is Bandit, and his birthday. Like, I know too much about this man, and he has no concept of who I am, right? Super weird. Weirdest thing in the whole world. But that's just, like, that's our culture right now. It's so weird. Gerard Way, very attractive man. I'm not attracted to men, but he's a very attractive man. Like, a lot of the MCR community saw Danger Days Gerard as like this pinnacle of like male attractiveness, and like, oh my god, Gerard Way, look at him. Sorry, I got distracted by textures. You know, like you do. Just like, oh my god, look at this man, he's beautiful. He is beautiful, like, you know, just. And then MCR broke up, he kind of fell onto the back burner. We saw some, like, you know, we saw Hesitant Alien Gerard, which was kind of similar to Dangerous Date Gerard, yada yada. And then we got Umbrella Academy Gerard Way. And people who maybe they partook in Gerard Way media every single day. Pancake Gerard, Danger Days Gerard, Black Parade Gerard, like this emo king that everyone had like this image. Maybe they listened to his music every day and they watched his music videos, or maybe they just saw a meme every now and then and they were like, that's what Gerard Way looks like. And then Umbrella Academy Gerard came out and everyone was so mean, and I was livid about this for like a year straight. Like, anytime Gerard Way's name was brought up, my ears were like peaked, because I was like, do I need to fight someone right now? Because everyone was commenting on his appearance in a negative way, as if though he's not still this adorable, beautiful man in all his forms. But everyone's like, oh my god, Gerard Way let himself go, and we're just so mean to King Gerard. Content warning, discussion of like weight, body size, cruelty towards that sort of thing, and like eating problems. And it came out later that the reason Gerard was so skinny and slim and na is he was suffering from an eating disorder. And so Umbrella Academy Gerard was the healthier Gerard. Like, that was the Gerard we should be rooting for. And he's still this beautiful man, and he's doing the thing he wants in his life. But everyone was so focused on Danger Days Gerard. They're like, oh my god, what happened? He got healthy. That's what happened. And it was this weird thing where, like, if you knew Gerard in person and you knew the struggles he was going through, you probably wouldn't give him flack for how he looks, because you'd be proud of him for how far he'd come. It made me so frustrated. People also speculate on his gender so much, and it makes me so mad, because he's said that he doesn't want to talk about it, and people still speculate so much. They have so much to say, and it's like, just let this man live his life. And this is the problem that we see with so many celebrities, where so many people, I'm getting all heated again because we're talking about Gerard Way, and apparently that's my big thing that makes me upset. Treat Gerard Way with respect. And we see this so often. I remember being super little and I would look at the tabloids and it'd be like, oh my god, Tyra Banks did a thing. And I was like, why do I care? Why does this woman's everything need to be blasted on the front page to where everyone who's going through the checkout lane ever gets to know the inner workings of Tyra Banks' personal life? Like, why do we do that? I feel like that's a whole other video, but why do we do that? It's so weird. And then it gets worse when child stars are involved. Millie Bobby Brown, that whole thing about everyone waiting for her to turn 18 because they thought she was attractive as a child. Disgusting, horrifying, absolutely vile, and no child should have to go through that. And on such a widespread, disgusting, horrible. Why do we do that? Transition point to my next thing, which is an Australian TikToker influencer person that I follow. His name is Caleb Finn. Super cool. Love watching his content. He had a baby recently. I don't actually know how old Finley is at this point, but had a baby. Still a little squishy guy, right? And Caleb has made the decision to not share Finley's actual name. Same with his girlfriend, Finley's mom, Soup. Caleb doesn't want to share her actual name either, and he doesn't want to share Finley's face. So every time that there's a video of Finley, he puts a filter or a sticker over his face, or he puts it at an angle where you can't see Finley's face. And people give him so much trash for it. Like, they just explode on him. And I don't get it, because this baby has no influence on their life. He's a baby. Finley's a baby. And there's no reason that millions of people need to see Finley's face. He's a baby. And especially when we see how child celebrities are treated in the world, no, Caleb doesn't have to show his baby's face. Why would he? Why would he want to put that upon his child when we're seeing what's happening with so many influencers with their babies and so many celebrities with their babies and baby celebrities? Like, look at the Olsen twins and like what it's like to grow up with this weird parasocial everything encompassing your life. It's terrible. It's terrible. It needs a change. It needs a whole revolution. Because what in the world? And it keeps going back to this weird parasocial thing where people feel like they have so much weight in these people's lives. Like, oh my God, if I could just reach out to Gerard Way, I would tell him, like, no, let Gerard Way live Gerard Way's life. Let Caleb Finn decide what to do with his son. We don't need to have say in everything, in every celebrity's life. Like, a parent making a reasonable decision for their child's life, a man recovering from something very terrible, a man going through marital problems and finding love. Like, these are things we have no way in, and we shouldn't have this feeling and desire that we have to have a part in their lives. And like, right, parasocial relationships are weird. It's hard to wrap your head around. I understand completely. When I was in college, it was COVID times, and so we never got to go out and experience the world. So my world was in my dorm room, and when I was cooking eggs and doing all of my homework, I would have JackSepticEye playing all the time. My main source of human interaction was Sean McLaughlin. That was my main source of human interaction, was JackSepticEye. And JackSepticEye has no idea who I am. But it got to the point where I'd be watching his videos and he would say something and I would respond, and he would respond to my response because my response was pretty, I guess, like, typical. It's whatever. That's when I started noticing it was getting into my head, is I would like be talking to him and he would talk back and I would be like, okay, I need to be careful here. This is becoming a parasocial relationship. And then I had to figure out that even though I was aware and consciously avoiding parasocial relationships, I had fallen victim to one. I had convinced myself that JackSepticEye knew who I was and he was my friend. And I just wanted to ask JackSepticEye for advice because I thought my life was falling apart. despite it being the best that it had been in years, but that's beside the point. I just wanted to ask Jack for advice, and it was like so weird to me because he had no idea who I was. He still has no idea who I am. And like when I made my Curtis Connor reaction video, part of me really, really hoped that Curtis Connor would respond, because it was like I spent so long interacting with his media. I literally, like this week included, will spend hours and hours and hours of time watching Curtis Connor, Danny Gonzalez, Chad, Izzy with 6 Z's. Like, I spend so much time consuming media about people who have no idea that I exist. And that can have an effect on a person. Like, I'm not at all saying that people who, you know, participate in these one-sided relationships, there's nothing wrong with them. But it can have a toll on the celebrity and on you. Another example would be back in COVID times when JackSepticEye and Corpse and Sykkuno and, you know, all these people were playing Among Us. People were shipping meaning they wanted these two people to date. And it was Corpse and Sykkuno because they have a cute friendship together. And people were harping on it so hard. And it made Corpse and Sykkuno so uncomfortable. And JackSepticEye came out and he was like, hey guys, you're making them uncomfortable. And people exploded on Jack. People were like, you're gonna tell me what to do? As if though Jack didn't have an actual working relationship with these two friends of his, and opposed to a million fan people. It's like they're so weird. There's so many weird situations that come out of parasocial relationships. And I'm boggled, I'm fascinated, and I'm just sitting here going, what is the solution to all this? Like, where's the solution? Make it make sense. It's bad. Like, there are problems. Parasocial relationships are problems. And I don't know. I think it's something we should be aware of. I think that when we're participating in media involving people we've never met before, it's important to sort of realize that, like, oh, Corpse and Sykkuno probably aren't going to be influenced by the fact that I want them to date, and so maybe I should just drop it because I'm making them feel weird and they don't even know who I am. It just takes this extra level of emotional maturity, and maybe that's what I'm coming to this video to say, is like, it's just something to be aware of. It's something that in your day-to-day, it's worth being aware of. If you're sitting there and you're like me, where, you know, oh my god, Frank Anthony Iero Jr. born Gerard was born in April, Frankie. Come on, get it right. I have too much information. I have too much information on Gerard Way and Frank Iero to the point that I never want to meet them. Because I'm aware it's so weird. There's no reason for me to know both of their middle names and their birthdays and their children's names and their animals' names. Like, there's no reason. I should not know all that, but it's in my head forever. It's weird. As a kid, I didn't realize how weird it was. I was like, oh yeah, I could totally, like, if I met Gerard Way, I'd be like, dude, I know everything about you. And he'd be like, wow, that's so cool. That's not how it works. Like, even with my friends, people who I know and have known for years, they'll come up to me and I'll start telling them a story and they know the punchline. And I'm like, huh? And they'll be like, well, I watched your YouTube video where yada yada yada. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I went to have a conversation with them and they already knew, and it was so weird. Like, that's sort of the world we're interacting with, right? Especially in the age of TikTok and Snapchat, where we have these influencers that can interact with you. I remember screenshotting every single time that an influencer interacted with me at all. Like, Caleb Finn responded to my story once and said I had big brain energy, and I was like, oh my god, and I rode that high for like 3 weeks. This influencer that I follow, her name is AJ, responded to my response to her story and like gave me answers to questions that I had, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And it was just like these influencers interacting with me, and like it's hard to go, but they don't know who I am because they interacted with me. And it's like, it just adds this extra layer to the weirdness that we're experiencing in this 21st century life we're living on top of everything else. And it's really cool, right? It's really cool that Caleb Finn can respond to me. It's really cool that AJ and Gray can respond to me. It's really cool that Melinda Herman liked a comment that I left on her video once. And it's really cool that, like, I texted, I direct messaged, like, my favorite TikToker, and she responded. And I was like, oh my God. And we had, like, 3 messages back and forth. Like, I sent a message, she sent a message, I sent a message, she liked the message. Oh my God. And now my brain can't get out of my head that we have a relationship of some sort, which we don't. We don't have a relationship, but I can't get it out of my brain because that's this weird 21st century chaos that we're interacting with. I felt like stims aggressively. What else is in my King Lear script? Oh yeah, that's another thing. And I haven't seen people talk about this much, but I've just noticed it in my personal life, which is like parasocial relationships with people you actually see. Like people in your real life, and you have a parasocial relationship. Does anyone else have that? Like I remember so clearly. I was super involved with this church when I was younger. I had like a working, functioning relationship with the higher ups, like every single higher up except the lead pastor. I was friends with every single higher up except the lead pastor and his wife. No, I did not have a relationship with his wife. I had a relationship with his daughter and his son and his friend and like everyone. I had a relationship with so many people, and I saw him talk up on stage every single week, and I felt like I had this working relationship with him. And I remember seeing him in Meyer and being like, oh my God, hey, nice seeing you. And he was like, hi. And I felt so awkward. It was so weird. I was like, this man has no idea who I am. He has no idea who I am. I know. I literally watch his grandchildren every single week, and he has no idea who I am. I have played guitar on stage with his grandson, and he has no idea who I am. And it was super weird. It was super weird, and it's not the only time that that's happened. I feel like especially when you have where there's a person who's on stage and they talk maybe to like an audience of hundreds of people, even to a small audience. Like there's been times when I went to youth groups that had like 20 people and I feel like the pastor still didn't know me. Like it's just, that's sort of how human interactions are working right now, and probably throughout all of history. Like I imagine that there was people who felt like they were connected to Aristophanes because they watched the clouds and the frogs, and they're like, oh my God, I love Aristophanes' work, so clearly Aristophanes knows me. Like I imagine that this has been happening for a very long time. I can't imagine it not happening this way. Also, like when I was young, I felt like I literally knew Anne Frank because I was going through a bunch of my own stuff, and I would journal, and then I would read her journal, and then I would journal more, and then I'd read her journal, and it somewhere in my young adolescent brain that connected with me and her are pen pals, and like she's telling me about her life and I'm telling her about my life. And I think that I actually wrote like several entries to Anne Frank, and then every time people mentioned that she was dead, it ripped my soul apart. Like it hurt so bad because I was like, this is my friend, and she wasn't my friend. She had no concept of me. How could she have any concept of me? She was a victim of the Holocaust that happened 60 years before I was born. And it was just this really weird thing, this parasocial relationship that had formed. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see why I wanted to talk about this? Why I wanted to open some sort of dialogue with my audience? Because like, it's fascinating. It blows my brain. What does my King Lear script say? I like how the bottom of my script says random note, nothing important, because coworkers kept asking what it was. There's like these different levels of celebrities where if you respond to my video, I'm no celebrity. I will probably respond back. If you respond to a video that has like 300 comments on it, you might get a response. But then like the more comments there are, the less likely you are to get a response. And it's like this weird hierarchy where the higher that your media person gets on the hierarchy, the lower you get on the hierarchy. Which I'm tying in a random theory. Hang on, hang with me here, because I think I have something going on with this. And I think that this is also something that I pointed out in my gatekeeping video, which, by the way, is still like my favorite video in the world. Super good. I really liked that one. I'm tying this whole thing in and that video in. You know when people are like, oh my god, I liked this artist way before they were popular and now they're popular and I'm unhappy about it? I have a theory. Because the higher they go on the hierarchy, the lower you go. The more fans Lil Nas X gets, the less likely he is to ever notice us. I love Lil Nas. I think he's so cool. He's like my favorite. And I'm intentionally not doing the thing that I did with Gerard Way, where I learn every single detail about Lil Nas's life. Because when I get famous, I'm befriending him, okay? It's happening. And that's not if I become famous, that's when I become famous. Get it right. The more fans that he gets, the less likely it is that I will ever interact with him. The more fans that 21 Pilots got, the less likely it became that anyone would be able to have a working personal relationship with them who are just fans. Like, I went to a punk show and I got to meet every single band member. I didn't meet every single band member, but the option was there. And like my partner has this relationship with one of the band members and like is actively her friend, and like all of this stuff where like these are people that we can interact with and have like working relationships with. And you can't do that with Lil Nas because he has too many fans, where like if you went to see him at an open mic night, you could go up and be like, oh my god, that was super great. But now his concert ends, he goes off stage and avoids the crowd. Who can blame him when there's thousands of people who want to meet Lil Nas X? Who would have thought my choker is choking me? So it's like that's my thing, is I think that part of the reason that people are so upset when people that they like get more and more popular is because they become less and less. They become a lower percentage in the pie that is their fandom. Like if there's 2 fans and you're one of them, it's 50-50. Now there's 3 fans, now you're only 33% of their fan base. 4 fans, now you're 25. Oh my god, now you're 1%. Now you're 0.0000 billion ones % of this fan base, and that I think can be upsetting. Like, I don't think I'm wrong in that. I think that is sort of what we're seeing with that whole thing, that whole phenomena. It's like, well, yeah, you're gonna want to be friends with your favorite YouTuber because they're your favorite YouTuber and you spend hours and hours watching their content. It'd be so cool if Curtis Connor was my friend, or if I could just text Danny Gonzalez and be like, hey, there's a movie that I really want you to do a video on, yada 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 yada. Ooh, let's do a collab. Like, I don't have that option because I'm small fry, they're big fish. Yep, fries and fish. Clearly compatible. Clearly 2 sides of an equation. Fries, fish. Fish and chips? Yes, fish and chips. I don't know what I'm talking about. My King Lear is falling flat. I didn't do enough memorization. And I think I need that still. I can't tell if it's made worse or better by the fact that there's so many celebrities now. I think it's probably made better, but also worse. It's like nothing is wholly one thing or the other. There is no good and evil in the extremes that we see, like the extremes of like, I'm not making sense. It's fine. We're fine. Everything's cool, bestie. Because now there's so many celebrities that my favorite TikToker might not have this huge audience. She does, and she's beautiful and amazing, but she might not have this huge audience. And so I can message her and she can respond. And she did. She responded to me, guys. She responded. Oh my god. You can tell that this is like a thing. And Caleb Finn, I can swipe up on his story. I've swiped up like 1,000,000 times and I've gotten one response. But that one response is in my head forever because he said I had big brain energy. And it's like, so this is becoming better, right? Because now I can have like, I can get responses from my favorite celebrities and I can have conversations with them, and wow, this is so cool, and we can do all these things. So it's like, wow, it's better, right? And no, it's kind of like this false hope thing almost, right? Like, we can't all be Drew Gooden's wife messaging the Viner that we think is attractive and then all of a sudden we're married to him. We can't all have that situation. I almost feel like it's worse that there's a better chance of us getting a response because then we think that we have this relationship with this person, and we really don't. Like, Caleb Finn responded to my story once. That doesn't mean that I have more say in his life than if he never responded to my story, but it feels like I do. It feels in my heart of hearts like I have some form of relationship with him, and he just sees like 1,000,000 comments, and that's what he has to interact with. And for me, it was like a big thing. Like, oh my god, I got a response from this guy. There's a movie I watched a long time ago that connected to the same thing, and theirs was like this sex scene where this girl really wanted to like, do it for the first time with her favorite celebrity, and he made it very clear that it meant nothing to him, and she was like, this is all I've wanted for years and you don't even care. And to him, it's just another fan who wants to do stuff with him. That movie's so old. I watched that movie when I was so young, and it was old when I watched it. So it's like, this is an ongoing thing. This isn't a new thing, even if it's newly talked about more and more. This is an ongoing problem that we've faced as a society, probably for hundreds of thousands of years. I wouldn't be surprised. Hundreds of thousands? I don't know time. Don't look into that. Don't look into me and my timelines. I can't. I have no concept of time. Leave me alone about it, alright? Yeah, it's just weird. Parasocial relationships are not fun to engage in. And it's like you get a little bit of a dopamine rush when you get a response from this big celebrity, but they still don't know who you are. So then I think at the end of the day, it hurts even more because like, oh my god, I've sent this guy so many messages and he's only responded once. And it used to upset me. It genuinely used to upset me because I was like, man, I gave you so much time and attention and you can't give me any attention back. And it's like, of course he can't. Of course he can't give me attention back. He has so many followers. He has like 8 million, 9 million followers, maybe 10 million at this point. Like, he's not going to have any time for me. Why would he? Why would he have any time for me? I'm actively participating in his media. He doesn't have to actively participate in my participation. That makes no sense. He would have no time to himself. I don't know how to end this video. Not like that. That's not how we're ending this video. How did I used to end my videos? It's been a while. Love you guys. One-sidedly. Huh? I love the concept of you. So weird trying to interact with an audience after you just talked about how you don't know them, even though my audience is mainly like my aunts and my campers and my sister. So it's like, I do know you guys, but if I ever do get and it's like this weird thing. Parasocial relationships are weird, and I don't know how to avoid it as an influencer as a hoped influencer. I would like to be an influencer. I'm not currently an influencer, but man, that'd be so cool. Where's my cane? I gotta show off my cane because I have to walk around with a cane now. Check her out, boys. Isn't she fancy? Wow, absolute queen. She helps me walk. It's great. I love her. Yeah, so I have a cane now, and I can't really use my cane at work currently. So if I could be an influencer, that'd be fantastic. That'd be so cool. Because then I wouldn't even need a cane. I could just sit down like I've been doing for 40 minutes. Wow, so cool, bestie. The coolest. Look at me. You can be cool with a cane. Don't let anyone tell you don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. You can be so cool with a cane. Canes are so cool. What do you mean? I'm getting distracted. I almost hit myself in the face with my cane. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, as always. Let's hope, and I say this every video, let's hope that I get back into a regular posting schedule. We'll see about it. We'll see. I wouldn't place bets on it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Drink electrolytes and water and eat food and take showers. And if you need mobility aids, get yourself a mobility aid. I hope you have the option to do that. If you need the help in some regard, I hope you have the option to receive said help. All of my love. Thank you for watching this video. I have no idea who you are. Bye.